Welcome back to Politics Today, and indeed it is the governorship elections in Edo State that's in focus, maybe one of the most key issues through the week that has just ended, barely 24 hours ago. But then at this moment, we will be having on the line from Benin City, the Edo State capital, our political correspondent Deji Bademosi, who has been on top of the situation and has done well to give us situation reports and updates all through the period, and very tirelessly too. Hello, Deji.
Yeah, Charles, I can hear you.
Very good. Good to have you back on Politics Today. Unfortunately, or should I say, fortunately, today you are on the other side. So,
a reversal of roles, right?
Absolutely. Yes, now that you are on the hot seat today and have to answer the questions, well, first of all...
I hope the seat is not too hot.
Well, then, have we had responses from Governor Oshomole's opponents yet as far as the results of the elections are concerned?
Well, there's been no response as yet from the PDP's candidate or the PDP as a party in the state. But of course, the PDP has reacted at the national level, accepting the result, even though it did so grudgingly, and that it was still monitoring reports that would be coming in from its various agents. So, but there's been no official reaction. What we've been told is that the PDP here in the state would issue a statement, and I guess that statement will be coming out tomorrow.
Interesting. Well, okay, at least you have focused mainly on the People's Democratic Party. We also understand that the
AMPP as well. The AMPP, we've not heard anything from the candidate, but at the national level, of course, you must be aware by now that the national chairman of the ANPP, Ogbonnaya, has issued a statement accepting defeat and, congratulating the governor and saying they were accepting the result. But the ANPP at the state level, we're yet to get any reaction at all, and we're yet to get any reaction from the governorship candidate of the ANPP here.
Well, then, the mood in the state capital, Benin City, what is it? What has it been like?
Well, you know what is happening now? There's just quite maybe some 2-3 minutes ago, there started fireworks, all over around the city center. It's part of the celebration, and there are quite a number of people at Ring Road where you have the water fountain. They're celebrating. It's calm, but it's a happy mood here. The celebration goes on. The people are just happy, and the situation here is calm. Of course, you don't have soldiers around anymore, but I saw quite a number of them at Ring Road. That's where they were deployed from. So I guess they assembled there to go back to their various stations or bases.
All right. So they actually did their work pretty well, and they can pat themselves on the back for that. But then one more interesting thing here, Deji. Have you been able to speak with Governor Oshomole?
Yeah, we actually have an interview with the governor. We have an interview with the governor. As a matter of fact, as you speak with me now, I'm on the way to the governor's place. So we have an interview with the governor in about an hour from now, and we're going to hold. It's going to be a live interview. Well, we're linking up on the news at 10.
Okay.
But of course, the governor held a press conference earlier in the day, and you heard everything he said, and dedicating the victory to the people and all of that, thanking the people for supporting him. And you must have heard of that jubilation earlier in the day where the governor went to church. As he was coming out of church, the crowd had massed in front of the church, and then he decided to hold something like a road show to celebrate the victory.
Well, the governor actually reveling in his victory. But Deji, yes, we will be looking forward to hearing from you again on the news at 10. I'm sure by then you would have had your talk with the governor. But well done, you and Sheon and Henry, and as well as Peter Okonkwo, for all the
not finding
updates.
My seat too hot, right?
Well, I'm sure you ought to have done this in Benin City, but for circumstances beyond our immediate control. But then when you come back, it certainly will be waiting for you.
All right, Charles. Thank you very much.
All right, looking forward to seeing you back here again, Deji. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, that was our correspondent, Deji Bademosi in Benin City. Well, he should have been here with you gentlemen, but then, well, he had to sort that matter out. Well, the mood in Benin City, the capital of Edo State, jubilant. Well, but that's for the state capital. Well, there is one thing that has actually caught my attention, but perhaps before we go to that particular issue, we also have a track of the press conference that the governor granted earlier, and maybe we should take a listen to that before we come to the issue at hand. Let's hear from Governor Oshiomhole, his response to his electoral victory that Deji talked about.
I want to appeal to Professor Jega to save his own name by not deploying corrupt INEC officials to conduct elections, no matter where the pressure is coming from. He must understand that whatever INEC does or fail to do, in the final analysis, the buck stops at his desk. He must bear full responsibilities for the conduct or misconduct of any INEC official. And I ask him to carry out a query to establish what led to the delay such that within Benin City, where the materials are, for 3 hours, materials were not delivered, and yet the same material were delivered in part of Edo North and throughout Edo Central. And the query will help him to give appropriate warning and sanction on those who were responsible for that attempt to disenfranchise those local governments that are the most populated in Edo State.
Well, then he just won't let sleeping dogs lie. He has already won the electoral victory, but then he's still hammering on and on at INEC, accusing them of all kinds. Well, so you see, gentlemen, if indeed you said that his initial outburst was to put INEC on the spot and then force them to do the right thing. Well, after the elections were over and he had won, the image I saw there was not of a very happy Oshiomhole. As a matter of fact, he did look angry and upset instead of being jubilant and overjoyed.
He's doing that because of the number. Politicians work with number. So I guess obviously he's not happy with the number of victory. The number he used, because he was drunken off. What the NPN used the word, is it moonslide now? So of course he was looking for a moonslide over. But be that as it may,
yes,
he has raised an important issue, and that must be looked into. If electoral materials were in the periphery, as I said, in the hinterland, and in the central, walking distance, and they were not delivered, and the whole of Benin City and all the already local government itself has problems, then definitely there must be an inquiry to forestall a repetition. And I guess that is a wonderful and a very important one. But before maybe I leave this issue, before we leave this Edo elections, in my going around, I saw something novel in Benin, particularly. I ran into some Red Cross people, and then I stopped them that, come, gentlemen, why are you on the street? They say, well, they are out in case there is any casualty. I said, no, let us pray. God will make you people useless today. You have no business to do. There won't be any cause for casualty. And we thank God that indeed there wasn't any casualty.
Well then, now let's, sorry, Mr. Ashiru, let's take a look at the preparations, because, yes, indeed, the governor must have been unhappy with the figures, but then the Independent National Electoral Commission, and indeed by extension the federal government, in order to forestall any violence, and of course that probably must have been fingers were actually being pointed in the direction of one of the major opposition parties, but then 3,500 security officials were deployed to Edo State, customized ballot papers so that, for each local government area, so you couldn't move the ballot papers from one, even if you snatched them, you couldn't use them in any other local government area. So, Mr. Ashiru, don't you think that in spite of, the governor's outburst and all that, the preparations at the end of the day, and also the fact that some people were disenfranchised, were still all in a bid to ensure that there was a free and fair and transparent election?
Yeah, well, whereas we will always support all the moves that will ensure transparent, free, fair election, the point must also be made that casting one's vote is a fundamental human right, which no reason under the sun should deny one who has produced himself on the day of the election from exercising. Having said that, I think the context really is to see where we are coming from and where we are today and where we aspire to be maybe in the next few years, particularly when 2015 is around the corner. And I think it is in that light that Governor Oshiomhole is calling the attention of Jega to the fact that, look, the buck stops on his table and they must continue to improve by the day. I know that, Jega needed to have done some overhaul when he got to INEC. Some of us are still, thinking that it's high time Jega did quite a number of things in terms of the personnel he inherited from Maurice Iwu. Because if you recall, memory serving us well, even the general election in 2011, he had to cancel, election on a particular day because some officials within INEC assured him that the sensitive materials will arrive, and up till about 12 noon on the day of the election, those materials are yet to arrive. So I think that Jega will need to do a lot about INEC personnel, particularly in the states, because they must realize that what they are doing, apart from forming, part of Nigeria's democratic history, also impinges on the integrity of INEC. And that is the more reason why they must be much more alive to their responsibilities. Now, there should be no excuse for materials getting late to polling centers in and around Benin.
Okay, now let's, while we're bashing the Independent National Electoral Commission, let's also not forget the fact that there were issues of infrastructure, there were issues of accessibility, issues of terrain. For goodness sake, a boat carrying voting materials, security personnel, and electoral officials, capsized somewhere and they drowned. Maybe it was a riverine area, where you could not go by car. There must have been no bridge. So we have the issue of infrastructure and accessibility. And so the best available mode of transportation, which was a vessel, was used. And then, maybe by a quirk of nature, it ended up in, the people, through no fault of theirs, losing their lives. And probably it also ended up in either the late arrival of voting materials to that center or even not at all. So, would we still blame the Independent National Electoral Commission for that?
Mind you, the point we are making is that, I can understand the difficult terrain and all that, but that's also not insurmountable. Visibility studies could have been done, some few weeks, days before the election. All of these infrastructural challenges are there. They didn't just come up. And accidents do occur anywhere in the world. So, and if it's an accident, there's really nothing we can do about it. But we're saying that the governor alleged that even within Benin City, and that's the point that I'm making, that,
which I'm confirming, which
he confirmed. So I'm saying that, look,
okay, what happened within Benin City?
Unfortunately, there is no river. There is no river within Benin City.
So that's the point that we are
making. Is a small. Benin City. The whole of Benin City, 10 minutes drive, right? So, but besides that, the main issue is that elections are not held on a daily basis. And of course, I will even use this opportunity now to call on INEC to roll its sleeves and hit the ground running. Elections will be taking place in Ondo State in October. By now, we don't want to hear any no any excuse. Let the materials be there 8 o'clock. People go there, they get accredited, they come back by 12, they start election by 4 o'clock. We finish counting and everybody goes to jubilate, or of course give to link your wounds, and of course prepare for the next 4 years or 3 years that is me.
We're actually putting them on the spot now, but remember, on those stages is much bigger geographically.
The more reason I'm putting them on notice that they quickly begin now to plan. You see, one of the things that really messed up that came to the fore in Benin was people not getting their names on the voter registrar. Some people, several people were saying, I voted here during the presidential election, and her name was not there. Several people, so that all this mix up, there's what you call claims and objection. All this period will be used to sort all these things out. So on election days, you know your name is there, it's pasted there. In fact, if they see your name in C local, there's another area, they will tell you, your name there. You know, if you go and complain that no, I didn't vote, I'm not in this area, this is my area, and so on, and all this one will be sorted out. On election day, you go there, you vote, you register, and you vote. Or you get accredited and you vote. No problem. You see, all this noise, the Nigerians were used to this fire brigade approach. And I want to believe that not only INEC, the political parties too have a stake in this, because they are the beneficiaries. If the votes are not enough, just as Oshomole is crying, it's because the political parties did not put INEC on the spot. Go to INEC office and tell them, let us see the list and so on. All of INEC will now call a stakeholders meeting. They all sort all these things out. They paste it. Everybody look at the numbers and all the voters and all, and they sort all these problems out before election day. It's not on election day that you see party agents fighting themselves at the polling units that, yes, these are my people, these are not your people. This is not the register, this is not where we are supposed to vote. I am a visitor to Edo State. One woman saw me and said, she was asking me one Orubata Street or something. I said, I don't know anywhere, Mama, because me, I be visitor here. So, but
I mean, she was asking for directions to where she ought to vote. Interesting. Well, Mr. Ashiru, you are the academic here. I mean, I'd like us to look at the place of research, before polls, the essence of research before polls. Now, let's start by comparing the elections in 2007 with the ones conducted in 2011. I mean, there's a broad agreement that it was a vast improvement. And, the ones in Edo State, we will be talking about this for a long time to come, maybe until it's overtaken by the subsequent elections. But then, if there was an improvement between 2007 and 2011, and then maybe considering the fact that we didn't have violence at all in Edo State, do you believe that research played a strong part in the progressive improvements?
Yeah, no doubt. Research played and is still playing a lot of significant role in the way INEC conducts its business these days. Let me say that there's still room for a lot of improvement, but I know that with the quantum of resources, devoted to research in terms of voter participation, in terms of understanding reasons for apathy, in terms of general voter education. You will recall that recently INEC is trying to even imbue voter education in secondary schools curricula. So all of these put together tells you that INEC is doing a lot in terms of research. But I think the point to note in lateness of materials to police centers and all that has to do with some visibility studies. I mean, they need to know the difficult areas and plan ahead. Maybe the riverine area, like he rightly pointed out, maybe those, non-sensitive electoral materials could get there 2-3 days before the D-Day, so that on the day of election, the sensitive materials can just, be handy, and then they can move. So I think that INEC should be commended for bringing a lot of intellectual, and of course you can't expect anything less, because the chairman of INEC, Professor Atairu Jega, renowned political scientist who had written extensively on elections in Nigeria, and is also bringing his expertise to bear on what he's doing at the moment. But don't forget that when you talk about politics, like I said earlier, you are talking about interest, vested interest, at all levels of society. And you are also dealing with human beings for whom you can only vouch for the very moment you are with them. Once they leave and they go to their respective centers or polling units, you never can tell what transpires.
It becomes rather unpredictable. Well, Mr. Ogunade, you were on the ground in Edo State. You went all over the place. Of course, you witnessed the voting and all that. But the question is, did you find out from the Independent National Electoral Commission why the voter capture cards were not used? I mean, that was supposed to have been maybe a little bit of technological improvement to prevent election irregularities.
No, they used the capture card, the voter's card, the one with the ID card. They used them. That was what they used. The problem was the register. They have to. Your name must be at the polling unit before you could be accredited, and in some cases, names were mixed up. I guess, again, part of what we are saying, that before the election, maybe 2 weeks before the election, all these things are sorted out to batch them. This is one going to Uyi Primary School. This is one going to, what's this other primary, Idia College. This is one going to the Ministry of Education. This is the one going to Adesua Grammar School. Something like that. You patch them. As soon as it's 2 days to the election, you put them in. You put them where they all belong. Those various locations. So there won't be problem. Meanwhile, before that time, maybe a month or so, there will be massive publicity about claims and objection. That is the time when people will go there to know that indeed my name is pasted here. This is where I voted. Yes, this is it. Oh, my brother Tunde, brother Solomon, hey, Omori, your name is not there. They will call themselves.
But I would have imagined that these elections were supposed to have held earlier, I believe around May, but then they had to be moved forward a bit to accommodate for these things.
Gone. But whichever way, there is a timetable. That's why elections are not held on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
So you plan for this election. No doubt, my brother has laid it, and I want to adopt his some sentiments that indeed we have moved and we are moving.
That's
and
right.
Of course, the next stage is that INEC should up and top up his activities so that we get out of all these challenges, and let's have a free and fair election. So I will be looking at a viral or an online voting in the next few years. We can do that. It's possible. I mean, there's no big deal about it. Is it not just going to the queue? This is my card. They tick you, go and stay somewhere, and at the end of the day, like they did in Edo yesterday, people now stood waited after the election. The votes were counted, and of course, violence. Nigerians are the most peaceful people on earth, as far as I'm concerned. They are in local parlance. Everybody like Igbadun. They like enjoyment. Nobody won't die. The other day I was in one village. I was running. One old woman, 80-year-old woman, unfortunately crossed the street. Accidentally, I was driving. I held my. Of course, I applied the brake, and there was a screech. The next thing, Mama said, "I don't die." I said, "Wait, Mama, you don't old rich now." I said, "No. Nobody wants to die. So all of us wants to enjoy. So nobody. We are not criminal or violent people. That's why when the elections were resolved now, it was according to the will of the people. That's why there was calm.
Okay.
If it were the other way around, obviously
the situation would have been different in spite of 3,500 security officials drafted.
Now they were useless. I was playing with one of the soldiers. I went and gave him a blow because we had some disagreement.
Okay.
Of course, play thing.
Of
but
course.
if it were a war situation, you can imagine that of course the bullets will be released.
Well, you see, some people might have gone home dissatisfied, those who said they could not vote for one reason or the other. But let's also look at another group of people who probably were not satisfied even before the voting began. And it's the issue of some civil society organizations bringing up that the Independent National Electoral Commission refused to accredit some of the Edo-based observers to monitor the elections. I mean, what could have accounted for this? The fact that, the monitors came from outside, from home and abroad, but then for the ones who were from the main locality, they were not accredited to observe.
Well, I wouldn't know what, because I know that INEC publicized the intention. There was a publication in the papers that groups that are involved in election activities and electoral activities should, even all civil societies should apply to be accredited for the Edo elections. And if you do not get accredited, don't move near the election, move around on election days. And of course, it was a procedure which every one of us that were accredited went into. So I don't think there's any hanky-panky there. If you know you want to, your group is well registered and all, go ahead, do the application. If they accredit you, go ahead and go on. And if you are not, then if you are this is about patriotism. We left Lagos, my group and some of course joined from Abuja. Somebody joined from Nasarawa and Kaduna. We all converged in Edo because of course our group was registered. It's about passion, it's about patriotism. So, if your group is not registered, before our group was registered, we too merged with some groups to be part of this thing. The whole thing is that indeed we want the more the merrier in this situation, because we want to broaden, we want to strengthen democracy. And the only way we can do it is when we observe and we monitor these things, then definitely we'll take the democracy and its practices to the next level. Thank God the issue of violence has been removed. And I think we'll take cue from that, look at it, what causes violence, and so on. Next time when we sit together in any workshop, we'll now look at it, dissect it, and say, no, these are things that causes violence. All of us want peace in Nigeria, and of course we'll look at how we'll get peace, and that's all. So we want all civil societies to apply and be involved in all these things.
Absolutely. Now finally, let's take a look at the issue of security and the lesson it holds for future elections in Nigeria. 3,500 security personnel drafted to Edo State. Now imagine if it was a situation where we had general elections. Now 3,500 security officials multiplied by 36 or 37, because we include Abuja. Do we have enough of security personnel just for the purpose of elections if we're going to have elections holding simultaneously in order to forestall that kind of violence? And remember, you know, size also matters, and the sizes vary. If you took 3,500 for Edo, probably it will take about 7,000 for a state twice that size.
Well, I think that this point must be made. No amount of security personnel can stop a badly conducted election. And I think that the only way to guarantee security of election beyond drafting soldiers and policemen and all that is to ensure that elections are properly conducted, well planned, well executed, and ensuring that the will of the people, you know, prevails ultimately. Once that is done, I mean, we can see what is happening in Edo currently, jubilation everywhere. It would 5,000, 7,000 security personnel would not have been able to stop violence if the person who didn't win had been announced as the winner. So I think the lesson is that we must learn to do things properly, particularly the conduct of election, because the lives of, you know, 150 million totally, and the people in a particular state is too important to be left in the hands of 3,500
right. On that point, gentlemen, I'd like to say thank you very much for coming on to Politics Today. And, well, it's actually been a very rousing argument. We could have gone on and on, but time is not on our side. But then I'm sure we've spoken so much. So thanks once again. I've been speaking with Mr. Dele Ashiru, political scientist and a lecturer at the University of Lagos, and the president of the Voter Awareness Initiative, a legal practitioner, Mr. Wale Ogunade. And, well, on behalf of both of my guests, thanks so much for staying with us on this edition of Politics Today. I'm Charles Eruka. Good night.